Hi, this is Sherry Veronica. Now, I did a blog on the Cheryl Maria Margaret Greenidge nursery person who hit a child. She was because they can do that and still remain in their job. Okay, so it's not for me to say she was. We're gonna say she is a nursery assistant and she has been brought up on charges for hurting a child that was in her care. Now, if you okay, let me slow down. When I put this in my WhatsApp chat, I got this and it says please refer to the Child Care Board Regulations 1985 section 14, which states corporal punishment, severe or frightening measures must not be inflicted on a child of the day nursery. The day nursery, that means like under 4, you're under 4, okay, maybe 4, under 4. So you must not hit that child. And then it went on to say, the person said the education regulations pursuant to section 59 of the Education Act 1983, it says, and it authorizes principals to inflict corporal punishment and to delegate the authority to do so to the deputy principal or senior teachers. Okay, got that out. So if you can legally terrorize, traumatize, abuse, hurt, make welts come up on someone's skin, make them afraid, make them not want to go back to school, if you can embarrass a child, and it is per law, this is law, why is it that if you were to tell someone you killed someone and that person feels embarrassed, ashamed, they've got upset, they got into the ego, why is it a law that your ego, you bringing your ego up front and center, and you're in your ego, and because of that ego, which is not even real, it's not like beating a child in school, it's not like corporal punishment in school, which is real. That is real when it happens. When someone tells you you did this and it is all over in the paper, and they're saying that you inflicted stress on them, undue stress, and they were very upset, and you offset them, they can take you to court and you can spend 7 years in prison or have to pay $100,000. How does that make sense? How are your laws making sense? How are your laws making sense? You can speak, but you don't have the freedom of speech. How does that make sense? They teach you, your mom and dad, or your mom, when you're born, a baby, they want you to speak. Mom said, daddy, mommy, whatever, cup, tea, juice, whatever. But you teach your children to be able to form sentences, and then you have the schooling to make them think and to make them, weigh and, and make good choices or whatever. And you want them to have that speech. But yet there's a law that people are complaining about and talking about, which says you don't really have freedom of speech. You can talk. You can talk. But you don't have the freedom to do it if you upset someone. But yet, in schools, you can terrorize children, and that's law. How are your laws making sense? How are your people not bi, tri, whatever, polar? How are your people growing up, young people growing up, able to be mentally sound? How is it that you expect them not to be criminals, turn to be criminals and turn to the gangs, the mentors, to be mentored by a gang leader? Why would you not expect that to happen when your laws are mentally corrupt? Your laws are sending people mad. Your laws, what you put on your books and the way you develop your nation there, You're sending people mad when you think that a 13-year-old, a 14-year-old, a 15-year-old, you're coming into yourself, and a teacher can beat you because you've made a mistake, which are things that it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And they can pick up a belt or a stick or a lash or whatever and beat you. Beat you. And then when you get out of school, you can't even turn back and say, you know what? Such a teacher did this to me when I was in school, because that is against the law. Because that teacher, it's in the ego now. The ego is coming on board now. The ego is saying, how dare you say that it was legal? It was legal. What I did was legal. And you can't say that speaking about what happened to you is legal. Speaking about what happened to you is not legal because you don't have freedom of speech. How do you grow up to be of sound mind? How do they expect you to be of sound mind and body when their laws are by tripolar, all different mental illnesses? The laws in Barbados are there to make you mad. They're there to make you confused. It's confusing. It's going to make you mad, especially if you want to be able to speak. Imagine that when you want to say something, there's that hidden needle and thread that sews your lips up. It just comes across. You don't see it, but you feel it. You want to say something, but you are stopped from saying what you want to say because you don't know if it's going to upset the person who's hearing it. And it could be true as the whatever that is true, whatever. The sun is in the sky. That is supposed to be true. It could be true as ever. But you cannot say it because you don't know how the person hearing it would be upset and offset. And they may have been in jail because of it, found guilty because of it, have people who are still suffering because of it. But you cannot say, you have no freedom of speech, but yet they have freedom to beat your asses when you are young people in the school system. How does that make sense? How does that make sense? So when you young people come up and you become criminals, even the ones who have on the suit and ties, they're the worst criminals. Don't get it wrong now. Don't get it wrong. The ones that have on the suit and ties are the worst criminals. And if there are people going missing in Barbados, you should look among that community, the suit and tie community. Those are the ones who are lashing out and striking back and doing things and smiling in your face. They're talking very softly and they have on that suit and tie. Okay? You cannot escape your laws. You cannot escape being born in Barbados. You cannot escape having someone beat the shit out of you when you are in school, asking questions and growing and trying to come into yourself, and they're beating you because you've made a mistake, then to come up and out of school and tell them you can, and people tell you, well, you can't talk about it, it's law. You don't have the freedom of speech. You can talk, but you can't talk anything that is going to upset me and bring back memories of things that I've long buried and have in my closet. You can't be going there with that line of discourse. You can't be doing that. So it's a topsy-turvy world that you have there in Barbados. And the person that sent this to me, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for sending this to me. And I'm sure that you could have read everything about the guidelines for corporal punishment, and it should be last resort. Yeah, right. It depends. It will be a last resort depending on the temperament of the person at that time. Let's say they had a fight with their spouse, or let's say something is upsetting to them. Let's say that somebody says something to them and they're thinking about taking them to court to get $100,000 or put them in jail for 7 years or whatever the mandates are. and they go to school and a child is doing something silly, and they take it out on that child. So who's to measure if it was a last resort or first resort? How is that measured? How do you measure shit like that? How do you measure moderate and reasonable? How do you measure things like that? There's no measurement. There's no measurement, okay? And there's no measurement for when you cannot speak because you don't know when somebody's going to be upset. There's no measurement. It's a topsy-turvy world you have in Barbados. And I don't know what to say to you. If I were a religious person, I would say, may the Lord have mercy on your souls. But I'm not a religious person. This is Sherry Veronica.